Yeah.
You're done.
Okay. 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 Oh, okay. That's good. I'm gonna do it on computer or something.
Yes, right now. That shoots it here. You want? There's no statement.
Yeah, that works fine. Um, wonder though if you have a laptop. No, I don't need a laptop. I have notes here.
You get another, you want another podium?
Yeah, because of.
Yeah, grab one.
Do you have another one like this, Father? Hey, it doesn't matter. Whatever. If the music stand, it'll work. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for.
So I do have can I just make them available at the end? I don't think like sometimes I think because I would rather not give it. Yes. Precisely. So I would do that. So if you don't mind, like, is there? Can I just
There's a fourth one.
put in there?
Does that one work?
It does. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our gathering this evening. Before I start with a prayer, I just want to, first of all, welcome all of you this evening, parishioners and family and friends and area faith communities who are here. I just want to point out just different individuals who are here, people up here to my left and your right. We have council members, we have administrative council members, as well as our cabinet members that helped with this capital campaign. We're blessed to have with us also, as I kind of work my way around the room here, we have Father Todd Peterson, as some of you remember. He's alumni of our school, and so we're blessed to have him here and his prayerful presence. And so thank you, Father Todd, for your presence, your prayers, and allowing us to see the fruits of the labor of St. Anne's, a product of it, St. Anne's. And so also we are here with Bishop Chad, and we're blessed to have him, and then as well as Michelle Kramer, who is our diocesan director of schools, and then Father Mark Steffel, who has a lot of hats. So I don't want to name all of them. He's got a lot of hats for our diocese, so we're blessed to have the three of you here with us here this evening. So why don't we go ahead and begin with our prayer? But before I start with the prayer, I just want to make reference to this prayer comes from the Pilgrims of Hope Jubilee year starting December 24th of this year, going till January of 2026. It's a wonderful message, and I thought that this prayer that Pope Francis put together, I thought it was fitting, especially tonight as we go into this third year of the Eucharistic Revival, the mission year, and that we are truly that idea, pilgrims of hope, as we go out carry that mission. So let us pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father in heaven, may the faith you have given us in your Son, Jesus Christ, our brother, and the flame of charity enkindled in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, reawaken us the blessed hope for the coming of your kingdom. May your grace transform us into tireless cultivators of the seeds of the gospel. May those seeds transform within both humanity and the whole cosmos in the sure expectation of a new heaven and a new earth, when with the powers of evil vanquished, your glory will shine eternally. May the grace of the Jubilee reawaken in us pilgrims of hope, a yearning for the treasures of heaven. May that same grace spread the joy and peace of our Redeemer throughout the earth. And as we gather this evening, may our meeting tonight remind us all of our call to be on mission with your gospel. Thanks for blessing our school for over 100 years as cultivators in that mission. Guide our hearts, our minds, our words, so that they may be one heart and one mind with you. Bless those who have come both near and far to celebrate and discern your will. To you, our God, eternally bless, be glory and praise forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So again, I want to thank you all for coming. And before I invite Bishop or whoever will be coming up next, I also want to point out Hal and Katie Johnson, who are here with us as well. They're the helpers that helped with us in this fundraising portion of our campaign. And so we'd like to, again, welcome you guys as well. So with that being said, I'll hand over the microphone. And again, thank all of you, and thank you too as well.
Okay, so just to give an overview of why the bishop had asked for this meeting tonight, we're on kind of a tight schedule for the bishop, so we plan to be done in an hour. It wasn't meant to be a question and answer, but we want to start from the standpoint of the diocese with a PowerPoint presentation. After the meeting is over, you'll be able to take a copy of that, and we'll ask that the rest of them be left here at the church for anybody who wasn't able to be here, so that they can have it and see the points that we talked about. So the bishop will be talking in the beginning a little bit about stewardship. Then Michelle Kramer, the director of schools, will be pointing out a little bit about the history of this project leading up to where we are now. And then after that, I'll be addressing some of the points that a group called the College of Consultors. I'll describe who that is and how this works on the level of the diocese has. And then we told Father Hess that he'd have a half hour to address any other points that he and his committee wanted to bring up regarding where we are on the St. Anne's School project. And then at the end, we'll be asking for your feedback that will be submitted to the diocese, realizing the scope of this project is something that we need to have a very clear understanding that there is enough support for it to carry it through, not only to what needs to be done to the building, but well into the future and how that'll all go. So that's just an overview of what we hope to accomplish tonight, to be here with you as we make this presentation.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you this evening. So on the 27th of September, 2022, I was installed as the bishop, so just a little over 2 years. Prior to that, I was up in Alaska while serving as a chaplain up there. I was appointed, the bishop was after about 2.5 years, which would be December 15th, 2015. So 2014. So I'll have been a bishop 10 years this year. And obviously 8 of that was in northern Alaska, which is very, very different than anywhere in the lower 48. Very different than New Ulm, very different than Northern Michigan, where I grew up. And I don't mean that in any pejorative sense. It's just, it was a different culture, a different world, mostly native Alaskan and remote villages. So it's nice to see the sun come up at a normal time and go down at a normal time, if you get what I mean. One of the things that I left Alaska after living with the native peoples up there for 8 years is this idea of stewardship in a way that we may not experience it here. Usually when you hear the word stewardship, it's, oh, the priest wants to get us to dig into our wallets, our pockets, our bank accounts, and give more money. What I found out there is this people live close to the land, and stewardship was based upon a relationship that they had with God the Creator. I mean, I'm talking very intense, because it was all about their survival. If they would get the next seal, the walrus, the moose, the bear, the salmon, whatever it was, that's the way they lived. They lived on the land for many years. And so as I left there, I saw them, this ebb and flow, the changing of seasons, very much just was divinely imprinted in their way of life. I come here, and no, I did not see John Deere tractors and Case combines up in northern Alaska. But as I've been here 2 years, I was amazed at how that type of a stewardship mentality I saw present in the people of the Diocese of New Ulm, and mainly because it's an agricultural area. No, the Eskimos don't live in igloos, even though there were a bunch of them there. Is that there's an intense sense of a farmer, and I know you're not all farmers, but it's the general kind of consent or idea of what I see the majority of the diocese. So I'm not down here just in Wabasso, I'm talking about the entire Diocese of New Ulm, is that one is, for generations, they've lived close to the land. Two is extremely hardworking, very hardworking people. And in living close to the land, they understand that they have to take care of the land. They have to take care of the land. They have to be wise stewards of this, because that land and its fruits and this way of life is going to get passed on from one generation to the next. And again, what is that? It's a closeness to God's creation. It's a closeness to Creator. As I've traveled around the diocese in 2 years, I have not been to every one of the 54, 55 parishes that we have, but I've been to all of the area faith communities, as you well know, that are combined. And I see an incredibly generous people, hardworking people that are dedicated to their faith. And when you ask them to give, they're very generous. But also, too, I see people that are very fiscally responsible. So we've got a sharing of labor, stewardship of resources. The nature, I think, of stewardship in a parish, and again, this is not just St. Anne's, this is speaking about parishes in general, is about an involvement of everybody. So how is that homebound person that hasn't been able to come to Mass for 5 years, 10 years? My father spent 11 years in a nursing home before God called him home in 2020. But yet he was very much a part of the parish and prayed, even though he was profoundly paralyzed by a stroke, was very much a part of St. Bernard's Parish in Alpena, Michigan. So how did he exercise stewardship, and how was he part of that through his prayer and his involvement? So it's everybody in the entire parish. It's not just a small group of people who maybe because of their opportunities in life have been blessed with a lot of money, but at the same time have been very generous with it. And we need those people in our church today. And we actually wouldn't be where we are if God didn't tug on their hearts to be generous to all. But so the scope, the radar scope widens to include the entire parish. Granted, when you have a particular campaign, if it's building a new church, building a school, remodeling something, whatever it might be, is that each person, everybody may not give because they don't want to, but all need to be supportive. And so when we talk about stewardship, it's I'm behind this idea, even though I'm in my 70s or in my 80s, I no longer have kids. My kids won't go to a school, but yet I'm supportive. I'm behind what is going on for generations to come. And Father Steffel will speak more about that. As is that message, is it permeated, is it throughout the entire parish? I don't know what the answer is to that for your community here. You guys know what that answer is. I just asked the question that you're thinking about that. Prudent stewardship for future generations. What do I mean by that? Is that God has asked us to be wise stewards of the gifts that he's given to us. That becomes personally reflective for me as an individual. And it becomes, that question needs to come to a parish community itself as a discerning body. What are the resources that God has given to us? How do we use those wisely, not just at this moment right here, but for generations to come? I, as a diocesan bishop, have to do that on a diocesan level with 55 parishes. And are we being wise stewards of the people of God that not just give us resources, but are we meeting their pastoral needs, their spiritual needs? What are we doing to help people grow in their faith and facilitate that encounter with the risen Christ? That right there, particularly at the Holy Mass and the Eucharist, is the core of our faith right there. No matter where we're at, a tornado comes through, blows buildings down, that is the core of our faith right there. And as one who has celebrated Mass in Iraq and Afghanistan on 3 different combat tours, not in a tent, not anywhere, on a mountaintop, facilitating the encounter of the risen Christ in a very challenging and difficult situation. So that becomes stewardship, obviously, in a very unique environment. So as we think about the future, if God has given us all these resources, how are we doing this? And I think Father Steffel will lay out more specifics on that. The beauty of Catholic schools, you'll hear Michelle Kramer speak to, and I've said this before to the Catholic principals and teachers, we want holy, healthy, and happy Catholic schools. And she'll talk about what that means more in detail. But as we talk about Catholic schools, what about faith formation for the entire parish? Is that we have over 4,000 kids in the Diocese of New Ulm that attend religious education, and about 1,800 that attend Catholic schools. So you see that there's a significant difference. I have a responsibility, and then you as a parish have a responsibility. How is faith formation, that's part of stewardship, happening with the kids that maybe aren't in school for whatever reason? They have a choice to do that. So that becomes part of stewardship. Are we meeting those needs? The last point that I want to touch on is something that it's taken me probably 2 years to come to understand, because again, it's about relationship, and I'm not the brightest light bulb on the porch or the smartest kid in the classroom. That is the wisdom of the College of Consultors. When I was up in Alaska, we only had a handful of priests that were part of a College of Consultors, because most of them were international guys. They were not diocesan priests, and they didn't understand the nature. You have on the College of Consultors here some very seasoned, incredibly wise. The pastoral years is, I don't know if you were to add them all up, would be 150 to 200 years. Every one of the priests that serves as a consultor, when I first got here, some of that's changed recently, has pastored a parish with schools many times over. So there's a collective wisdom that I've seen, not just on a particular issue to do with a building project, but just a boatload of pastoral issues that I face regularly as a bishop. A guy who came from outside of this area And a lot of these guys have they've grown up in the Diocese of New Ulm, and they know the people, they know the challenges, and they know the uniqueness of what the diocese is. And I thank them for their counsel and their advice. So I just speak to that as a person who's been here 2 years, and I'm very thankful to the consultors for the guidance that they have given to me. And every one of them are deeply faith-filled priests and men of prayer, and I believe great discernment. So thank you for your time. And now I will ask Dr. Michelle Kramer if she would come and talk about Catholic schools and the structure. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for having us tonight to share just a little bit. As Bishop mentioned, I would talk a little bit about how we as a diocese aim to support you as a parish and some of the goals that we have behind what we do as Catholic schools. As he said, we want to be healthy, holy, and happy schools. Perhaps I should have started with the bottom one because I think it's probably the most, or actually I should start with the middle one because it's the most important. We want holy Catholic schools. That's the most important thing that we do here, is to bring the beauty, goodness, and truth of Jesus Christ and the church into our communities. And you do that well at St. Anne's. So first of all, holy. Second of all, we want our parishes and our schools to be happy. We want them to be joyful places where we bring the light of Jesus out into the community. And finally, we want our schools to be healthy. And a healthy way of life comes in a lot of different ways, but tonight we're particularly talking about finances. So in terms of financial health, we want our schools to have a great system where they're not just aiming to survive, but to thrive in the long term. So that can mean a lot of things. Some of it is just keeping down our debt. It's making sure that we've got ongoing maintenance. It's making sure that we can afford our teachers and pay them reasonable, fair wages, and have the teachers and the students in the system that we need to continue to move on. We want, as a diocese, we want to make sure that parishes do take ownership of what they do and the decision making that they have. We want to make sure that they have transparent communication, that what you need as a school is transmitted well to the parish community so that we can have that balance of needs. We want to make sure that our, as Bishop really referenced, we want to make sure that we have good stewardship of the resources that we've been given. And of course, that we hang on to our schools for the long term. So we come today as a body to try to help discern how we can set you up for success, because that's a really big part of our job as a diocese, to make sure that our parishes are successful. As Bishop mentioned, we have that body of the College of Consultors, but also people like myself and other offices in the diocese who have support and guidance, who can provide some support and guidance based on our collective wisdom. And we as a diocese, I think I have teens at home, so I think about this in a lot of ways like that, where we have as a diocese that same kind of model of the loving parent. We see things maybe in a wider way than for example, our teens do. They can't necessarily see because they don't have the wealth of experience. They don't have that distanced view. And sometimes that's a necessary part of what we need even in our parish life and the church life. We need that distanced view. And so the diocese tries to provide that, another voice of wisdom, like Bishop said, with that collective body that has been around quite a long time. So back in March of 2023, just to give you a little bit of history, maybe you're well aware of this, so I'll go quick. But in 2023, Bishop and myself met with the building group. I don't know what, you would probably have a nice title, but anyway, the building project group met with us, and they proposed two options for us. They showed us option A, which was to remodel the existing school building, and option B, which was to build a new building and then take down the old school building. So we looked at these, thinking the first would be about 8 million, the second about 12 million. And we had heard of these, the College of Consultors weighed in on this particular option. And Bishop and I, knowing the position of the College of Consultants, came and sat down with the group, and we talked about like all of the wonderful things that have happened at St. Anne's. And there's been such a strong sense of support for decades. And it's particularly noted in the last couple of years with those Schultz grants that we've had. It's been an amazing, there's been an amazing amount of support here in this area. So what we said as we were having that conversation, we wanted to make sure that the parish understood that this would be a decision for option A or B that the parish would really need to be invested in. They would really need to know, are we willing to put our money where our mouth is and really invest in a big way, not just for right now, but for the long term, to support such an undertaking, because it's a big undertaking. We know that, this is a community of about 700, just over 700 people. We know that, I can say, I'm heavily, of course, heavily invested in all of our schools, and we have a lot of small schools that can be successful, but they still struggle. And so we need to look at, the general landscape of what we're dealing with and what's the best decision here. So we need you as a parish to really be cognizant of the decision that you want to make about your commitment. How much can you commit? And is it a better commitment to option A or option B? And so what we said is we would put that on you to make that decision. And we would, once the pledges started coming in, we'd have an idea of, which direction that the parish would want to move. So I'm going to actually, I think at this point, turn it over to Father Steffel. So he's going to bring in now. So we had the perspective of us along with the building committee, and now Father Steffel will come and speak to the College of Consultors.
So before I get to that, just to say a few words about myself. I graduated from Cathedral High School. I consider it a great privilege to have gone to Catholic schools. Most of my assignments, all but two, one for 9 months when I was in Cottonwood, Minnesota, and a second one that lasted 2 years in Redwood Falls. Those were the only exceptions to having Catholic schools that in parishes that I was assigned to. So I describe myself, and I consider myself very, very much in favor of Catholic schools and a great supporter of Catholic schools. And that also comes from my father, who graduated from Sleepy Eye St. Mary's High School. And he too was he was very firmly committed to Catholic education for myself and for my siblings. And so what is the College of Consultors now? The Bishop and Michelle alluded to this a little bit. So there are certain things that are required as structures in every diocese. And it works a little different in missionary dioceses, as Fairbanks, Alaska was, but every diocese that's not a missionary territory has to have certain structures and certain positions that are put in place. And then one of them is the College of Consultors that are required to be someone that the bishop consults when there are a number of different things. And one of them is major building projects and expenditures. And the purpose for that is to be able to make sure that, and so this college has, for us, it's supposed to have between 6 and 12 priests, depending on the size of the diocese, and those are appointed by the bishop in order for him to go when things are asked for, like a project of this nature, to be able to consult and to hear some of the, where the priests who are on the college would be in relation to projects and to give the bishop a recommendation or to not give him a recommendation as to whether he should move forward. Because when something goes forward and then something comes up and it turns around or goes in the wrong direction, then it always comes back to the bishop and his College of Consultors. And we've had situations where that happened, where some permission was given for some major expenditure, and then when they got into it, then all of a sudden the question was, why did you even give us permission to do this? Even though they might have been very supportive of it at a particular given time. So we speak from experience, and we speak from the fact that right now there are a handful of our schools that are similar in size to St. Anne's that are really struggling financially, and some of them are really go on a year-by-year basis. And while St. Anne's is in a different place right now, especially in terms of not necessarily enrollment, but the financial abilities to cover costs. And this became a big issue for some of our parishes and parish schools when we got money through the COVID funds that were available through the United States government. But the last school year was the last year that those funds were still available. And so, over the course of those years where those funds were available, certain of our schools in the diocese became very reliant on that and now are really in financial jeopardy because of their reliance on that. But, considering all of these things, we try to have a perspective about things too. And so that is the fact that this project has been brought before the College of Consultors 2 times in my time as a consultor. Father Todd Peterson just joined that College of Consultors at the beginning of July. But 2 times there's been a sort of a unanimous sense of caution from the College of Consultors about this project, and particularly about building new as opposed to renovating and trying to do what we can to make this particular building, St. Anne's School, functional in the way that it needs to be given the resources that you have. And that comes from the fact that we've got so many schools in our diocese that are empty buildings right now, that the schools have closed. And a lot of times those schools have closed not just because of financial resources being lacking, but they've closed because they don't have enough students. And at a certain point, it becomes very hard to have a classroom, especially if you have multiple grades in a classroom, or if this number of students gets small. And, so taking a look at, for example, the graph up there of baptisms in this parish over the course of the last school years. And you've maintained a pretty level number of baptisms, but of course not every child that's baptized in your school automatically goes to the school. There can be reasons why that doesn't happen. And the population of the size of Wabasso is a relatively, in our diocese, both considered smaller parish and a smaller, town or community. So all of those things have to be taken into account. So that graph shows that, the baptisms for the previous years that are close to us are how many you're going to have for students in the near future. So the year 2023-24, that there were 14 baptisms here at St. Anne's Church. The year before that were 16. The year before that were 17, and the year before that were 11. So that realizing that is something to be taken into consideration. This parish has 155 envelope holders, and then it's about looking also at the proportion, the whole big picture of this, and not only to see a building being built or a building being renovated, but with the resources that are needed to make sure that everything is able to be maintained, and all of those other aspects that go into having a school. We had one building that definitely was overbuilt about 20 years ago. And then about 8 years ago, there was another school, a parish, and it was the largest grade school of our diocese, in fact, Holy Redeemer in Marshall. And the pastor at that time was told that he could not take down the building and build new, but was told to renovate what he had. And I went into Marshall as pastor as that was just being finished. So those are some of the things that the wisdom that the bishop talked about of us where we are draw into that. There's an average attendance, as you probably know, of about 330 people on a Sunday between your 2 masses here at St. Anne's. And you've got a parish and school combined budget from the financials that I was able to see that are sent in every year to the diocese of a little over 1 million. It's about to $25,000. So it's relatively small in comparison to the size of building a brand new school. And of course, we take into consideration too the fact that, you know, when you have campaigns, inevitably there is some reduction in the normal stewardship that takes place in a parish. And of course, always having to plan on overdraft, or, you know, over costs that go over what you planned, having to plan for in case there are pledges that are made that are not kept. And so we're about 18, from the time the bishop and Michelle were here in March of 2023, we are about 18 months out from that. And it wasn't really and that maybe wasn't clear on both sides, but it wasn't an expectation that this was going to be a capital campaign that would go on for over a year in course. Doesn't mean that people couldn't make pledges beyond a year, but that it wasn't going to be just an ongoing thing, such that we have to decide, well, when does it stop? When do you do what you can with what resources that you have? One of the questions that Father Tony Hess asked in a letter to the bishop recently was about how it had been told to him that, you know, before any kind of construction on a new building could start, that there would have to be 100% of the funds on hand. And I wanted to talk very specifically to this point so that it can be very clear. The diocese has a policy that at least 75% of the money be on hand before any new construction. In reality, the practice is more like we expect 100% for all projects on hand. An exception to that would be in some sort of an immediate need of maintenance that would need to be done, but not something that would be planned because in reality, and this happened too in a parish in our diocese that was given permission to take out a very, very large loan, that it took them a long time to pay that loan down. I think probably about 20 years. And so looking at that in a situation where they wanted to build a new church, they ended up spending a lot of their annual budget just on debt service. And so if we consider a project like the proposed $12 million school, starting to build and having to borrow just even $3 million is 3 times the amount of money that is the annual budget. And interest rates are not very low right now. They're considered a little bit higher. Construction costs too. This is just a question that is, you know, over the course of the last couple of years, they've went up by double digits. And sometimes my experience would be they've been higher than what the graph on the slide shows. And then of course, handicap accessibility is an issue, and we certainly want to be aware of the need of that, but also to be realistic about what the need is in that, in terms of, you know, is it a true need, or is it just that the building wasn't laid out as well as it might be functionally for us now. And so, you know, the other things in terms of the long-term vision of Catholic education, especially in very rural places like ours, is the difficulty of recruiting new teachers and administrators. And even in our diocese, because of this, we have a cultural exchange program where there are 3, beginning this year, teachers that were brought from the Philippines that are serving in schools presently in the Diocese of New Ulm. And it has become a great challenge. And certainly you have some of your staff that are getting close to that time when they will be thinking about retiring, and where those new teachers are going to come from. Every year, that's the biggest thing at the beginning of a new school year, is to make sure that all the staff are in place. And I pray every year with the schools that I've been an administrator of, that I get those people that are going to come and are willing to move. You know, a lot of times they're new students, but we're facing a teacher shortage right now. And of course, the decrease in populations has affected our schools. where I am in New Ulm now, there was a time where there were over 100 students per grade in every grade, and that was just for the cathedral before the other parishes combined in the New Ulm area to work together for a joint Catholic school. And now the class size is about 30 per grade. So that's something that is a very important consideration too. And then this is just a graph. This includes the enrollment, including preschools on this, the preschool students. So that gives you an idea of over the last number of years, over the last 5 years, that it's been consistent at about 100 students that are in the school at St. Anne's, including the preschool. And so there's a good things there in the consistency that you have, but the reality is it's a difficult to recruit new students when you're getting most of the students that you already have. And so those were just some considerations. From what I understand right now, you're at about $7.1 million that you have in cash on hand. So as this project has progressed, it became an opportunity for us, as the bishop said, to come out and to hear, because we want to make sure that everybody knows exactly where things are, and also to see our side of this and some of the points that we think are worthy of consideration. Before the bishop got here, I was somebody that the College of Consultors asked to come out and meet with the committee at the very, very beginning of this, and to share some of these same concerns. So our goal is to, as Michelle said, not to be people who are up there throwing reasons why not to do something, but we're just making sure that everybody knows all of the moving pieces on this, because it's our job to make a success of whatever happens in the diocese and in our schools, and we want to certainly continue to be able to do that. So those were just some things that I was going to mention, and then we'll have Michelle wrap up here about the feedback.
So as Father said, we really do want to have some feedback from you as parishioners. So we will have a few different options for you. There are half sheets that we have that look like what you can see on the screen, that those will be made available to you tonight. So if you want to add comments and fill those out, you can tap into the QR code otherwise and do it online. We encourage you to fill them out and hand them back in to us tonight before you leave, but otherwise you can just send them to the diocese attention St. Anne's Project. And then certainly if you have other feedback that you'd like to provide, you're most welcome to do that. We've got email addresses, and also we will make all of the PowerPoint slides available to you in your narthex as you head out. So you'll have all of this information, the QR codes, email addresses, and phone numbers if you would like to reach out and give us personal feedback. But we really do want to hear from you. This is an important part of the process to know what the entire community is thinking. So just know that we welcome all of your input. And I think we'll go ahead and turn it over to your building committee. Thank you so much. Do you need?
We're here to present our story, that we are serious about this project. Are we a little crazy to do this? Are we a little crazy to do this? Absolutely. Sometimes you must do crazy things to get God's work done. It's called having faith. Will this be easy? No. We know that it won't be. We will need to be creative to accomplish the goal. We will show you what is possible. With God, all things are possible. A priest who taught me everything I know about giving, Monsignor Richter, is no longer with us. Not physically, but in spirit he did. And one Sunday he came out for his homily, and he brought a scoop shovel and a tablespoon. Monsignor simply said, "Do you want your blessings by the scoop shovel or you by the tablespoon? You make your choice." And I learned a great lesson there. And the people of our parishes live by that. We show it. This last year, my heart is in this, but I was questioning whether I was going to keep on with the fight. You get knocked down a few times, and I'm kind of a slow learner, but I catch on. So I asked God for a sign. I believe in signs. And a little background, our dairy, we sell bull calves, and people come to purchase milk from us. And usually they pay in cash. And a couple years ago, the family decided that every couple months we're going to give that money and donate it to a charity. Remember, I was asking God for a sign. This summer, after I asked for the sign, we had a stock chopper that we were going to sell. We sold it for $7,000. God has a sense of humor. After our deal was done, the young man went to his pickup and brought an envelope and walked over to my wife, Sherry, and he gave her 70 $100 bills in cash. God has a sense of humor. We also sold a sprayer for $950. The man opened up his billfold and handed $950 to my daughter, Amanda. We also sold an auger just recently. It was for $500. The young man opened up his billfold and paid me in $20 bills. God said, "Here's your sign." We know it's not going to be easy, and we know it's going to be a challenge. In a couple weeks, we're going to receive a letter from the diocese for the DMA. While we were raising money for the school, approximately we were at $7 million at that time. St. Anne's and St. Catherine's were two of the first parishes that met and exceeded our goal for the DMA. And the math was done. If the other parishes in the diocese would have done what St. Anne's and St. Catherine's did, you would have raised $3 million in your fund. You raised $1 million. This was why, while we were raising $7 million. Our people know how to give. Are we serious about this? We are. This morning I went to school mass. I like doing it because it's special. And, I was sitting behind the fifth graders. The fifth graders take care of the kindergartners. The fifth grade students take care of the kindergartners. The teachers were able to sit and enjoy mass. One of the fifth grade girls had to take the little boy out to the bathroom. She didn't ask anybody. She got up, took him out, brought him back. Another one, the little boy that was sitting next to him wasn't paying attention in mass. He touched him on the shoulder and got him to pay attention. This is why we do what we do at St. Anne's. Are we the same as everybody else? No, we're not. We know how to give. And our parish community was given the name Light of the World. And we would like to be that light and we simply want you to let us do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. We share your passion. We appreciate that. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things in relation to our school. And I just want to say thank you for using our stats. Michelle, you know how much we love filling out all those forms every year and have them done at a timeline, and I never thought they actually get used, so I was happy to see them up there. Thank you. I just I'm going to piggyback here on what Father Mark had. This is our enrollment history, and similar to what Father Mark said, the last 5 years we've had roughly 100 students, but I'm going to extend that really for roughly the last 30 years we've had 100 students. And so we haven't had that fluctuation that some schools are, and that's just because our community this is what we do here. And in regard to, our town only being 700 students and there's only 14 baptisms, and this year we did have 14 baptisms as well. We are also enrolling students from Milroy, from Oregon, from Redwood Falls, from Westbrook, Walnut Grove right now. So we are including all of those people in, our potential school communities as well. The blue represents the last 5 years, and the purple is what we have projected out the next 4 years based on baptisms in our community, plus siblings maybe of our already students, people that are students already but not parishioners. So since 2020, that represents potentially a 17% growth in enrollment that we can almost 100% expect. And then in regard to the shortage of teachers, absolutely, this is a nationwide problem, and it does give us cause for concern. We have been pretty proactive in addressing that, and actually, like 10 years ago, our parish administrative council and all of you have been really supportive in making sure that we are able to competitively pay our teachers. We went from 10 years ago to being one of the lowest salaries for our staff in our diocese to now the second highest. And that's pretty incredible over that 10-year period. I want to thank the parishioners for contributing to that. And hopefully that, we'll still have that support going into the future. That's made it easy for us to attract teachers, to keep our teachers. And, hopefully we'll see the fruits of that as we move forward. Secondly, in 2021, when we were introduced to the Catholic Schools of Excellence and the Richard Schultz Foundation, we were able to develop a 3 Rs initiative, which is recruit, retain, and reward our staff. That was a very lucrative thing for us. We have a designated fund that is specifically used to offer college loan repayments to potential teachers, to help with stipends for relocation, to help offer bonuses to our staff for their longevity, say after 5 years. We have established extra, bonus pay, merit pay for taking on additional duties and things like that. Our fund, our initiative continues to grow. We're getting about $10,000 to $20,000 annually since 2021 to put back into that fund, as so that we can continue to to offer this to our staff. Some of the benefits that we've seen from that already, yes, some of our teachers have retired. Actually, most of our teachers, that were of retirement age have already retired, and we've already replaced, with teachers who have been with us now for 5, 6, 7 years. Over the last 5 years, I have hired 1 teacher per year. For every one of those positions, I feel I've had at least 1 quality candidate, and they've been hired, in place before the school year started. So that is proving successful, and we'll continue to use that. We are also targeting just individuals in our community who we think are going to be great teachers. Maybe they don't have licensure. In fact, that's how we got our 5th grade teacher. She just was working in our school in another role and was like, you know what, you could be a good teacher. What do you say? And sure enough, she just is finishing up her degree right now, and it's turned out really well. So we'll continue to, seek out those people that are right here in our own community. And then finally, we are starting to connect more with high school students and with college students to help encourage education, education-related fields, because that's what we're going to need. And of course, as you said, with the NUACs and St. Mary's and Bird Island, who are, doing global placement agencies, that, those are options down the road, and we'll just continue to be innovative and keep working there. Okay. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is just what are we doing to encourage our faith formation in our students after they leave St. Anne's? Honestly, that has not been a priority for our school. Partly the proximity of where the nearest high school is, our families that have multiple children in different schools and different activities. It just hasn't really seemed like something that we ought to do. But after this process, I've been working with Peter Rolfs, the principal at Sleepy Eye St. Mary's, and we've been talking about things that, just having them come into our school, how can we get kids over to their school? And then we're starting to discuss some transportation challenges and what that means, what would that look like for us? So we are developing that, and for now, I think I feel really comfortable in the faith formation that our religious ed program is providing. It's evident that our families want Catholic education. They want to receive things from us. And, they are the first educators of our children, and we'll continue to support them with faith formation of their students after they leave sixth grade. I just want to comment on one thing. There's been so many adult faith formation things popping up in our community, and they're so well attended for women and for men. And I'm really excited about that. And I see a lot of our parents of our children at those events. And so it's something's working, and I know we'll keep striving to improve those situations. But in the meantime, this is where we're at. Carl, I'm gonna turn. So Carl Gitter is gonna come up and talk to you a little bit again about the history of our campaign.
Yeah, I get to talk about some fun stuff. That's what I like. So just a quick look back at the timeline, how this whole thing started, where it came from, and then up to where we are today. So back in 2012, it was determined that a buildings needs assessment needed to be done. And an architectural study was completed by YHR, I believe the name of the company was. And they determined that the boiler was shot and needed a boiler. They determined that the school needed tuck pointing. We've heard about that. And then there was also, we have inadequate accessibility, right? So those are the three big things that were brought up. At that point, nothing was done. We just kind of tabled it. Coming back to, fast forward to 2012, again, building needs assessment needs to be done. Same program, architectural study was completed by YHR. To nobody's surprise, the tuck pointing still needed to get done. The boiler was still shot, and we still had accessibility deficiencies. So at that point, the estimate to just do those three things was about $4 million. So that's kind of where it started. So let's fast forward to May of later on in May of 2022. We did a feasibility study, and the purpose and the process of that was just to bring visibility to what's going on and what needed to be done. We had 4 public meetings. We did some mass mailings, and then we did 40 individual interviews with different people throughout the, oh, sorry, I was supposed to be hitting forward, wasn't I? Interviews with 40 individuals just to see what their thoughts were. When those results came back, 144 results were tabulated. We had 90% in favor of fixing the deficiencies. We got to do something. Let's just get something done. Of those, 79% said, we will help you pay for it. We're going to be a giver, right? Of those, 66% said they were in favor of new construction. 24% said they were in favor of a remodel, and 1.5 said do nothing. Just let her roll. Let's just see what happens. So, move forward again, if I get my pages right. July of 2022, Through the overwhelming support of all of you and others, we decided to go to the Diocese of New Ulm and ask for permission to start a fundraising campaign. And that's where it started. We get to March of 2023. We received a letter from Bishop Chad granting us permission to move forward with our fundraising campaign. And thank you for that. We appreciate it. There was energy. Everyone was just waiting to do something, right? We want to go. And it came at the right time. So May, June of 2023, a capital campaign cabinet was created under the guidance of Hal, and we officially launched our campaign over the course of 2 months. Presentations were given in the Church of St. Anne's. I went over and did the presentation at St. Catherine's in Redwood. And we also did 4 more additional public meetings. Most of those are downstairs. I recognize a lot of you guys from being there. And we also started sending out packets and both mailing out information and also personally handing out packets to people starting to ask for financial support. July of 2023, we got our first pledge, our first financial commitment. All right, so we decided it was going to be a 36-month campaign. That was partially with the advice that Hal gave us. We set a financial goal to build a new building. Fully aware that the pledges that came in, the money we got, would really determine if we could do a new structure or if we were going to remodel the one that we already have. Move forward from there. The cost estimate that we got when we started this project was $12.2 million. We did fortunately include in there a line item for a 5% inflation contingency, a 10% contingency for unseen expenses, and there was a $1 million line item to tear down the old building and do dirt work. So we tried to make sure that we included all unforeseen things that could possibly come. Certainly not knowing what inflation would be and what type of escalation costs would be, but at least we got something in there to take care of some of it. All right, now the fun stuff. That brings us to today. 16 months in, $9.1 million pledged, $7.2 million in the bank from all of you. That's worth a round of applause. It gets better. We just had a generous donor step forward, offered us a $1.5 million matching grant. We need to match it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I can say.
Carl, you forgot one other piece of good news. We also received $125,000 in cash this week. Someone cashed in one of the pledged money. So that's fantastic. All right. So where are we at today? What you're going to see on the top of each of these slides, diocesan question. So we abbreviated the question that was included in the letters from the diocese. So one of the concerns was, can you please get an updated quote on the building? So we did receive a revised quote of $13.3 million from Egan & Associates. This does include $800,000 in furniture, fixtures, cabinetry. What we have not included in our fundraising is gift in kind. These are examples of things that we could get from our parish to be able to build cabinetry, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not included in our fundraising numbers. So if we go to the next slide, Mary. So let's talk about the numbers a little bit. And I certainly want to be respectful of your time. The numbers are the numbers. They're different than other parishes' numbers. Not every parish, I'm sure. But we want to get to the passion part. So we're going to go through the numbers and answer the questions, and then we want to get to the passion part. I mean, first off, just thank you, everyone, for coming here tonight. Thank you for bringing your children. There's nothing better than hearing children's voices in a church. It's amazing. Thank you. All right. So we appreciate your concerns, your wisdom about financial viability of schools and the diocese. The last thing we want to do is have all of our donations go toward a new project and not be able to finance the operations of the school. So let's start with our endowment. St. Anne's has a $3.1 million endowment. It has increased $1 million since we've started the capital campaign. So our endowment has grown by 50% in the last 2 years in conjunction with the other dollars we've raised. People have given specifically, I'll talk about that, I guess, in a second. Next, let's talk about our budget. Our budget is roughly $500,000 for St. Anne's Church. For the last 3 years, we have maintained donations of $500,000 annually to St. Anne's Church. The other $500,000 of the budget you're referring to are fundraising for the school, tuition, et cetera, et cetera. So it nets out at $1 million. $500,000 from the church, $500,000 from school fundraising. So we've been matching our goal. Examples of other things, randomly, the diocesan recommendation for dollars reserved per acre for cemetery is $25,000. St. Anne's has $41,000 reserved per cemetery acre. We've recently taken on Lucan, Seaforth, several other cemeteries. We have an aggregate roughly $900,000 in reserve for our cemetery properties, well above what the diocese recommends. School income, all fundraising events have met or exceeded their goals. Last year, our capital campaign fundraiser raised $40,000 over the goal. Again, while all these other things were going on. Okay. Next, diocesan giving. St. Anne's contribution to the 2023 DMA was 300% of what our goal was. Ironically, what you were over on the DMA was almost exactly what St. Catherine's and St. Anne's gave above what was required. Your goal was 1.3. It ended up being 1.35, 1,359,000, almost exactly coming from these two parishes, right? We have a balanced endowment, which includes liquidity, social responsibility. There are investment funds, as an example, Ave Maria fund, which is socially responsible. So we're investing responsibly. We also have the max amount that we can have in every local bank, so that some of that money can go back and be used for the local economy. St. Anne's, so the question again is the financial health and the burden with that, right? The other thing is St. Anne's tuition is the lowest in the diocese and the second lowest in the state. There's one school that has free tuition, otherwise we would be the lowest. So another option to raise money is to raise tuition. For those that are here, how much is annual tuition? $1,500, relatively inexpensive. $1,285. The idea here is that what we understand is, and this has always worked, this model has always worked, is that as a parent, you're buying your children tennis shoes, you have a lot of things going on, you have not peaked financially yet, and you have a lot of expenses going on. So the rest of the diocese or rest of the parish is going to subsidize while your child goes to school, so that someday, when you have the ability to donate, you will. And as you can see, the model works. Okay. As you've noted, Bishop Chad, in your letter, we did skip over, and we maybe should go back to it later, the actual, why don't we go back there? Carl, you skipped over it. Just want to go over what you wrote to us as a reminder. Okay, whoops. So this is really a parish project, a parish investment, and a parish needs to understand their role and to their choice in deciding where to invest their funds. Therefore, transparency and communication with stakeholders must be made a priority. They must also understand that the diocese makes this agreement with caution. The responsibility falls on the parish to decide if a renovation or a rebuild provides the best option. It is also the responsibility of the parish to support the project for the long term. Fantastic words. We certainly have taken those to heart through this whole process. All right, so we addressed that. Next, strong relationship with independent school district 640. To have 2 schools in a town of 700 is amazing, unheard of, absolutely unheard of. But brand new school down there, and the amazing things that are happening here. So one of the things, the comment here is plan for future closure of building, right? So we're addressing those. The existing building has next to no value. There is not a bathroom on the main floor. There's asbestos. It's not necessarily a healthy building. It's structurally sound, but it's not a healthy building. So the next question is, well, if we had to tear down, and it would be silly to tear down a new building, our school district down the street, we have a letter from the superintendent. They could not take on any more children. They would have to rent space from us if that's what we needed to do. So we do have a leaser or potentially a buyer, should something happen. The other thing is we do have the endowment, which is $3 million, which certainly would be more than enough to address any concerns. Okay. So 90% of our parishioners are in favor of new construction. If we take care of this matching grant, we are at 100% of what our financial goal is. We're there. Donor-specific intentions. The question here again is, you've raised enough for a significant remodel. Could some be put toward an endowment? Again, we're there. We don't want to put it into endowment. The campaign committee has been laser focused on raising money for growing and building the school. People have been very specific that this money will go toward a new school or it will go toward a remodel. We've also received a $550,000 check to go to the endowment. Specifically, they wanted that money to go to help for the operations of the school, not for the construction of a new school. So these donations are very, very specific. And then also support received from Catholics and non-Catholics. Our Lutheran school, our Lutheran church wrote us a check for the building project. That's amazing. So Dyson question, fundraising theme, you can't fundraise forever, right? It relates to the project. You can't fundraise forever. But it's kind of funny to hear a Catholic leader say you can't fundraise forever, right? We've been fundraising for 2,000 years. We will continue to raise. But I understand the question was specific to this project, right? We agree. So Hal Johnson and Associates has worked on 340 projects, primarily religious in nature, 50 years of experience. To raise this amount of money in this size community, it's going to take 3 years. To put it in perspective, the DMA is 1.3 million for the entire diocese. We're raising $12 million in 3 years. It's 10x 1 year's DMA, one parish. So it can't do that overnight. It's going to take time to do that, right? And we're also thankful for our intentional givers. Mary is my wife, and certainly sees the checks, does not communicate with me, but she'll say, hey, we got $20 today or $50 for whatever. So the size of the checks have been all over the place. But what we're also unfortunate with is we do have intentional givers. Intentional giver is somebody that has a large amount of income, as stated by the Catholic Church. It's somebody that likely has wealth and is intentional with their giving. Typically, we'll give approximately 5% to the Catholic Church, 5% to charities. That is the Catholic definition of intentional giver. We're very fortunate to have all of our people that are giving, but also intentional givers. It makes big projects like this possible. Right? So initially, we weren't sure what the format of this meeting was going to be, right? So we had collected questions. We thought it might be an open forum. Not asking you to answer any questions tonight. These are the questions. These are things that you're going to see in the notes that are coming to you. The one on the bottom, I just want to highlight because that is the one that comes up time and time and time again. Do we have a diocesan support to build a new school, right? If we have the money to build a new school, do we have the diocese support to do that? That's going to be the number one question. That's our objective tonight, to find out from you, whether it be tonight or sometime in the future. So, next slide. All right, so want to talk about Father Mark. Absolutely understand many of the things that you have brought up, right? Since 2020, 379 Catholic schools have closed nationally. Only 65 new schools have been built. Catholic school enrollment has decreased by 66%. You gave the example of 100 students down to now to 33. That's the model. It's decreasing by 66%. St. Peter has a population of 13,000. They have less than 50 students. Springfield, just down the road, has 1,300 people. They have less than 50 students, right? For 100 years, we have successfully managed costs associated with the school. We've experienced the pain of suffering. We've closed some churches. We've closed a school in Lucan. We understand what that pain feels like. And so we take this very, very serious. And that's one of the reasons why the endowment was set up in 1980, because we didn't want to have to go through that pain simply because we didn't have the money to do it. So we had some very wise people that made that decision. We are confident this project will not burden the parish. I think we've clearly outlined that we have the financial wherewithal to do that. So we're not going to burden the parish with that. And we understand the new building does not guarantee that we're here forever. We understand all it does is guarantees that we have a new building. But regardless of that, all of our supporters are willing to invest in our children. So just a quick one. I don't know if you guys know Patrick Riley, but he is the president of Cardinal Newman Society. And he has said, after 6 decades of decline, it's time to get serious about a renewal of Catholic education. And that means a lot more than school choice and preschool programs. A genuine lasting renewal of Catholic education depends on families, pastors, and dioceses embracing its evangelizing mission and thereby restoring the value to lackluster schools while embracing innovation. My perception of what he is saying is that the modeling must change, and we believe we can be part of that change. We do not need to follow the model of declining enrollment and putting children in schools that are being repaired for the short term. Our goal is not to be Catholic school closure number 380. Our goal is to be new Catholic school number 66. Our school is not a new endeavor. We've been here for 100 years, and we understand our model is slightly different. So one of the things for us, every community has wealthy individuals and companies. This community is blessed with many intentional givers. What makes us different is we are thankful for everyone's contribution and the intentional givers, because those big projects become possible. We understand working together, great things are possible. Our model is different. So I just want to touch on 3 model changers. Many of you are probably familiar with them. Catholic School for Center of Excellence, right? They recently came and gave a presentation to all the diocesan schools, right? Their sole mission is to support pre-K through 8th grade elementary Catholic schools. They understand these schools do not have the support that they need. It is basically a collection of philanthropists that give money, trains teachers, do all kinds of different things to help improve Catholic schools, communicate the value of Catholic schools, support Catholic schools. Teachers love going to their meetings. They give out $100 bills to all the teachers. Oh, just principals, sorry, just the principals. Sorry. Well, we'll get that taken care of. All right, the Richard Schultz Family Foundation. Richard Schultz, founder of Best Buy, gave the University of St. Thomas $50 million at one shot and has given before and after that. One of the largest contributors to the Catholic community in the state of Minnesota. So Richard Schultz heard that the problem with outstate Catholic schools is that they had a teacher retention problem. So he said, all right, I will give every school $25,000 if the parish can match it. I can't remember the total amount that he donated, but it was a significant amount of money. So we got our $25,000 and we were matched with 100,000. We gave 100,000, right? Also, St. Catherine's Church in Redwood Falls has stepped up. As much as we were concerned about the closure of some of our parishes and how everything was going to go together, small town versus big town, whenever we go to Redwood to play them in basketball or whatever, you know, we always feel like we're the underdog. And there hasn't always been that connection. So St. Catherine's Church understood we couldn't do this by ourselves. So between some of their donors, the parish, et cetera, they have given north of $500,000. So they have stepped up to help us. So kind of wrapping up here, number one, hopefully we've answered your data questions. Do we have financial viability? Do we have the reserves? Can we move on? As an example, without another dollar going to the school, we could probably fund the school for another 5 or 6 years through our endowment. We would never want to do that, but there is financial viability there. By this representation of people and by our speakers, hopefully you understand our passion. This is not just 1 or 2 people that want to write out big checks. This is a collection of people. Consistency, one of the things I think for us is there been some switching since the original agreement, created a bit of a concern, but we're willing to do whatever it takes to move this project forward. The most important thing for us tonight, and what's given some of our parishioners pause, is we want to be assured that the letter that was written in March of 2023 remains intact and that we do have the diocesan support if we move forward with the new school. So this is the last slide. It's a thank you. We just want to thank you, our guests from New Ulm, and everyone who attended in person and in prayer. We hope our model can continue to grow, inspire, and flourish. Understand we're not surviving here, we're thriving here. That's not the case in most places. We want to invest in the thriving. We pray that our presentation, along with our prayerful thought, allows the diocesan leaders to judge this project based on our model, not on other people's models, right? We understand there are other models that are less successful. That's not our model. We hope that the future Catholic students of St. Anne's will learn in a new school. We do believe if we build, they will continue to come. So we prayerfully ask for your active support, participation in this once-in-a-100-year opportunity. Thank you.
I admire your faithfulness, your passion, your zeal for your parish community, and obviously, there's you walk through your. I'm not getting weird on you here, but as you walk through your cemetery, the only reason that you have this today is because there are people that are out there, some of them your own family members, that carried that passion on, and it's where you're at today. The reason that we came here today, I did at the recommendation of the consultors, is that they just want to hear that they want to make sure they're not questioning what you've done or anything like that, is that as they have been in contact with people regarding the discussion of this project, we would like you and everybody in the parish, in the school, to respond with that feedback form as Father Steffel and Michelle have given the opportunity. It's going to be posted online. So please respond to that. I want to thank you guys for doing great research, excellent presentation about the school. So I think the question that you had at the end is answered, I think, more by the feedback that the people give regarding this whole school project as you move forward, and also too that is it being communicated that there are these two options, and obviously you kind of explained the nature of an old building, the problems you're having, and all this kind of stuff. And obviously you've done the research, and that just it started. I think you said what in 2012 when the whole thing started. How are we going to fix all this stuff? And you got to where you're at today. So yeah, you've got a great history, a great support here. So I want to thank you for your time in coming out. And more than anything, as Michelle would echo my words, we're both passionate about Catholic education. And it the most important thing is that to me, you're dedicated to formation of Catholic consciences and souls. And it oh gosh, I gotta be careful what I say here. It has to do with the election and all that stuff. So, but yeah, if you've watched what's happened in the last months or year in our nation, we've gone sideways morally, and I just and the beauty of Catholic education is that you're forming these kids to have a Catholic conscience, that there is a man, there's a woman, and that life is sacred and we can't vote on that. So that is the most important thing. Whether you rebuild a building or you build a new building, that is the purpose of Catholic education right there. And our country is in a sad place, and hopefully we're moving in the right direction. And that's how we need to change this world, I think, is through kids encountering Jesus and forming them with well-formed Catholic consciences, which I know for certain you guys do in the school. I don't have any doubt in that. So that's the heart of what education is about. And so thank you for your time. Michelle, Father Steffel, thank you. Another group I forgot to mention, besides Michelle and all of the principals that she works with, partnering in the whole Catholic schools part of the diocese, is a committee on parishes, which has people that are subject matter experts, lay people, and there's a few priests on that committee. Any building project that goes on, or not, in cemetery projects, all these different things goes through that committee. And so there's a wisdom. Father Tony, thank you for being the shepherd of these people here in your area faith community, and the dedication that you and the witness of Jesus Christ as a priest to them. So thank you for your leadership and your witness as a shepherd.
Thank you, Bishop, and again, thank you, Father Steffel, and thank you, Michelle. Again, the packets that you received from us coming in, that kind of just gives you more information than what we shared tonight, so take it home with you. As Michelle mentioned, in the narthex and the gathering space on the table down there, there are the slides from their PowerPoint presentation. Help yourself to them. Again, they're passing out this information. If you need the address to send it down there, that's on the PowerPoint presentation on that the table out there. Again, if you definitely want to get, if we can help out with any of that, definitely let us know how we can be of service as well. Do you want me to keep talking while they fill that out? Wrapped it up. Okay. All right. So if you have your packet that you received coming in, let us say the closing prayer in the back there. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Together, loving God,
The Lord be with you. And may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit come upon you, upon your families, and upon your homes. Go in peace. Thanks be to God.
Thank you all. Have a blessed evening. They're still passing stuff out, so make sure you stick around until you get the cards. And go ahead and fill that out. Where are you wanting them to put those when they are done? Out in the gathering space? Okay, so in the narthex and gathering space, there's a box to go ahead and fill that out. And the council members and the cabinet, again, up here to my left, your right. If you have questions for them, they are available to help answer any of those questions as well.